Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tejano Traveler. I'm your host Wally, and today we are on the Texas Independence Trail, taking a visit with Grange, Texas. And before we get there, we have to pass by this Smiley Water Tower, and it just always makes me feel so happy and everything. So I have to smile back at it because I love life. And also, you pass through Smithville, and if you pass through Smithville, you see Smitty, the former world's largest gingerbread man, and they lost the title a couple years after they did it. But they still remember him fondly, and they still have a statue there remembering him. And he will always be number one in my heart. So this is kind of weird seeing a gingerbread man just hanging out. So go and check him out if you're ever in town, and give him a good pat in the back and a good bite on the leg or something. And then finally, eventually, after about an hour of driving from Austin, you make it to Grange. And here we are downtown where they have a pretty nice county courthouse. Texas courthouses are always some of my favorites, especially small town ones. The big town ones like Dallas and Austin, they're kind of been boring now for a while. But the old ones that they built are pretty cool and decent to look at. But you can come here to downtown Grange, and a lot of the stuff is located around the square, such as the Texas Quilt Museum, which is a pretty cool place to visit. You get to see some quilts, and they're always changing the quilts, so it's not the same quilts all the time. You can see different exhibits. They're always quilt-based exhibits. This year they were showcasing some guys' work, and it's pretty cool to look at and pretty fun and educational to see their artistry and see how they take little cubes of stuff and make it into something better. Then there's their Texas Heroes Museum, which celebrates all things heroes in Texas, from law enforcement and military. It's in a former jailhouse, so they do show the sheriff's office and stuff like that in the typewriter, because part of being a police officer's writing reports. And there's a flag that flew on the battleship Texas, and you get to see some other exhibits and guns and paraphernalia from different armed services and what a jail cell would have looked like back then. Then we have the MKT Depot Railroad Museum. The railroad used to be what it was all about for a lot of these small towns. The only reason they survived was because of the railroad. So if you come here, you can get to see some of that history. You get to see this golden cane that was presented to the person in charge, and train stations were a big deal back then. So I always like visiting small towns and seeing where their old train station was, to see where all of the glory stuff from the glory days used to happen. It all used to revolve around the train depot. And when you come here, you can see some cabooses. This one was pretty cool. You get to see what the inside of it looked like. It was pretty leisurely once you were in there, and I guess if you can afford to be in the caboose. LaGrange is also home to Monument Hill State Historic Site, where they had the Black Bean incident, where some soldiers got captured by the Mexican army, and they decided to shoot whoever got a black bean from a whole bunch of white beans. But it's on the bluff overlooking LaGrange, and it's pretty cool to see the river out there and how it all looks like. This bluff is out in the middle of nowhere, actually. It's like the only hill in the area. You also get to check out the Krish Brewery State Historic Site, where they used to brew some beer. Now, I don't know anything about beer, so I'm pretty sure that's exciting for some of you people. But I like seeing the ruins. It looks very old, very European. And then we have the Queen of the Holy Rosary Church, which is my favorite church in LaGrange, because it had some pretty awesome stained glass, but it recently burned about 2 years ago. The church burnt down. There was an explosion, so poor church. But they have this cool cemetery and this cool little grotto there for the Virgin Mary. It's cool to visit. And just on the outskirts of town, you can check out the Texas Czech Heritage and Cultural Center, where you get to learn all about Czech culture and heritage and find out their story here in Texas, why they came, why they stayed, and why they flourished here. You get to see some of the interesting things they left behind, as well as this dulcimer. I love musical instruments that are weird. And they have a library where you can go do your research, and you can learn more about the different places where these Czech people came from, and you get to know this guy, the communist Mickey Mouse. Plus, you get to see some historic buildings. And if you're in Grange and you want to celebrate some more Czech culture, then you should probably go to Weichels and get yourself a nice kolache. I myself prefer their cherry and lemon ones. They're delicious. It's probably my most desired kolache in Texas. And further on down the road, you run into Hruska's, which also has some pretty good kolaches. You get to taste them, enjoy them while you drive. It's pretty cool. I got a pineapple one, which I rarely ever get, but it was still pretty good and tasty. And finally, yes, I know all of you, every time you hear the Grange, all you hear about is the chicken ranch. So I went looking for it, and sadly, it's no longer there. It's been gone for many years, but there's not even a historical marker, just a big old field of bluebonnets close by. So that's the chicken ranch. Poor Miss Edna had to close down because people couldn't handle a whorehouse in Texas. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.